Okay, let's go ahead and jump in and get started with this meeting. This is our 2023 Seafood Committee meeting. And those of you, if you've seen some of the emails, I just want to thank everybody for joining today. This meeting is going to be just a little bit different than it's been in the past because we're going to discuss the reorganization of the Seafood HACCP Alliance Executive Committee. And then we're also going to discuss how the Seafood Committee has been dissolved. I just want to thank everybody for all the hard work that they've done over the years in the Seafood Committee. And I wanted to let everybody know that there's plenty of work still to be done in work groups in the Executive Committee. So there's plenty of them that need your help as well. If you see a work group that you're interested in, please don't hesitate to reach out to see how you can get involved. Today, we have Michael from the Executive Committee here to do a presentation for us on the new structure and how you can get involved if you would like to. So I'd like to turn it over to Michael if he wants to introduce himself and start with his presentation.
Thanks, Jeremy. Can you guys hear me all right?
I can.
Yeah, perfect. All right, well, glad to be here. I'm Mike Saramella. I'm the Seafood Safety and Technology Specialist with New York Sea Grant and Cornell University. And as Jeremy said, I do serve on the Executive Committee of the Seafood HACCP Alliance, and we've been having discussions over the last probably year and a half about restructuring and figuring out how the Alliance would function and work moving forward. So I'm going to just share a little bit of how that kind of the results of those discussions and kind of where we are moving forward, as well as share some opportunities for getting involved and engaging in light of the Seafood Committee here being dissolved, but there's still, as Jeremy said, lots of opportunities to engage. So I have a few slides that I'll just walk through to kind of give you a sense of where we're at and where the Alliance is going. So this is the flow diagram of our new structure. So the Executive Committee sitting there at the top is comprised of approximately 17 individuals representing private industry, academic institutions, the Association of Food and Drug Officials, state agencies, federal agencies, all serving and working together to manage the Alliance programs and the Alliance trainings and resources. There's a director, so Jeremy currently is serving as that director who's kind of spearheading and leading and just ensuring that the Executive Committee is meeting regularly and all proposed efforts and programs are moving forward. But under that Executive Committee, there are several committees. These committees are largely made up of members of the Executive Committee, right? And there's the Training Materials and Course Development Committee, our Train the Trainer Committee, which is going to be largely involved in running and hosting the annual Train the Trainer opportunity to increase the pool of qualified trainers across the country. And then there's the Policy Committee, which is largely working on the protocols and policies for the Alliance and the trainings that the Alliance manages. As well as a new committee, or new work group within that policy committee that's going to be community engagement. I'm actually going to be one of the chairs of that community engagement. It's probably partially why I'm here today to introduce this to you. But we'll go into more detail on what each of these work groups are, because the work groups are essentially where you can all get involved. So again, the Executive Committee is going to meet at least quarterly, typically, responsible for coordinating training, curriculum development, and all efforts under the umbrella of the Alliance. And the chairs for all of the work groups are going to be members of that Executive Committee. So the Executive Committee is always aware of what's going on within the various work groups of the Alliance. All right, as I said, the committees are largely made up of the chairs or the Executive Committee, right? And so limited involvement there, but these are ultimately just kind of making sure that the work groups and all of the various work groups are working towards coherent end results that are all synergistic with one another, essentially having the chairs from each of those work groups sit on these individual committees. But again, the work groups are where the chairs, right, have a group of volunteers or individuals interested in becoming more involved and engaged and assisting with the development of new and existing trainings and maintaining of those materials. And those members in these work groups are ultimately made up of what we've termed the seafood community. And that seafood community is made up of any professionals with an interest or operate in the areas of seafood and seafood safety, seafood trainings, and as well as all qualified trainers through these HACCP Alliance trainings. Right, so they'll all be members of that seafood community and open to participate in any of the various work groups. Right, so we're starting with our training materials and course development committee and the work groups under there, right? There's two categories of work groups. The first is going to be the course development work groups that are all working towards development of new courses or maintenance and upkeep or updates to old but existing courses. So the segment 1 update work group, right? I'm also chair of that work group as I manage the segment 1 online training course with the Alliance curriculum. So that group is essentially going to review and revise the online course as needed. Anytime there are updates to the training curriculum, it's ensuring that the segment 1 online course is updated to reflect any changes as necessary. Anyone participating in that likely at least once a year will review the evaluations for that course, see if there's any opportunities for updates, especially modernization. So there's been quite a bit of that happening over the last couple of years. We've introduced several training videos, 9 training videos to complement 9 of our 12 modules in that course. So those are the types of things that segment 1 update work group will work towards. We also have an aquaculture training work group. So some of you may be familiar with or heard that the Alliance had been working on an aquaculture HACCP training. This training is specifically geared towards processors and producers who are actually working with a lot of farm product to help them better understand how to control those hazards specifically associated with farm product. That course is largely developed, so I think this work group is going to be working in and focusing on the best approach for implementing this course, certificates, and how it will correlate to the existing HACCP Alliance training. We've got an importer training work group that's working towards developing a training through the Alliance for importers, right? Helping them understand the requirements of 21 CFR 123.12, which is for imported product. And so that I'm not as familiar with that one. I don't know if they really started that. So it might be a starting from scratch to develop a more formal training to better engage importers specifically on how they meet the requirements of the seafood HACCP regulation with regards to imported product. There's also the sanitation training work group. So the sanitation control procedures training is being largely updated and modernized. They've already made some great strides forward with enhancing that training, looking to create a more interactive training program that allows trainees to become more engaged in it. So responsibilities and those who participate in this work group will help towards the development and the design of the documents for that program and the various modules, development of the content, as well as exercises to complement those training modules, development of usable record keeping templates, and identifying accessible resources. So those are all kind of goals of that work group for that new sanitation training that is being developed. So that was our other new course development work groups. So these are more the materials work groups that are focused on updating and maintaining all the existing training materials through the Alliance. So the first, the editorial work group, used to be our Blue Book work group, is really focused on maintaining the Alliance curriculum. So that Blue Book or the Seafood HACCP curriculum. Anytime there are updates to the Fish and Fishery Products Hazards and Controls Guide, and go back to this work group to identify any necessary changes in the training curriculum itself, and any need for modernization and updates to that, typically when we do those reviews to ensure accuracy based on federal changes and regulatory changes. There's also the models work group. Largely, the models work group is going to focus on reviewing and updating the seafood HACCP models as needed. So revising them, not necessarily creating new models, but just maintaining those that currently exist and updating them as needed when there are changes to federal guidance. The presentations work group works towards maintaining the slide decks. So segment 2 and basic slide decks are provided for all qualified trainers when teaching a seafood HACCP training. And so this work group is going to be charged with updating those in accordance with any necessary updates to the training curriculum. I know one big push forward next is going to be modernization of those slide decks, right? New illustrations, additional resources for trainers. So updating those slide decks to ensure that they're accurate, but also more user-friendly in our modern virtual and very hybrid world and work environment. There is lastly the translations work group. So this one is geared towards increasing access to the HACCP training materials to a broader audience, largely ensuring the Spanish translations are developed and maintained. Anytime there is updates to the slide decks, the training curriculum, the translations work group is in charge of making sure that those updates get into the translated versions or copies of all of the training materials. Also assessing if there's need for additional languages to explore additional languages for translation for the training materials. All right, and then under our policy committee, we have 3 work groups. All right, so this policy committee, again, is focused largely on the policy and protocol and engagement with the community. The protocol work group is the first there, and this one is basically looking at the procedures and the policies for conducting HACCP Alliance trainings and ensuring that they are updated as needed and accurately reflect the protocols and policies discussed through the executive committee and the executive committee meetings. They'll also may be responsible for reviewing applications if there are any questions or concerns with course applications as instructors are submitting those over time. The course audit work group. So if anyone is a qualified trainer, you may have seen that we removed the review of the applications for courses. So really, as long as you indicate that you're following all the required protocols and procedures in your application, right, your application is automatically approved. As opposed to having a committee that's actually reviewing and providing feedback on these applications. And that's largely because we thought it best to look more towards auditing and ensuring that people aren't just saying that they're doing what they're doing, but it's looking at and ensuring that they are actually doing what they say they're doing in these applications. And so the course audit work group is going to work towards developing and identifying auditing protocols and policies for the Alliance and how we can ensure that there's a standard for the quality of education that's being provided through the Alliance trainings. And they'll be looking at determining a system and process for these Alliance trainings, for auditing these trainings. And lastly, we have our community engagement work group. So this work group is going to be responsible for regularly engaging the community, our seafood community, giving updates on Alliance activities, updates from our executive committee meetings, new programs and trainings updates, right? And this work group will work towards identifying what's the best approach and avenue for getting that information out. And that may be coordinating community activities, webinars, presentations, hosting meetings, or development of additional resources for trainers. So that's the basic overview of the new structure for the Seafood HACCP Alliance. Again, the executive committee makes up a variety of committees that are then going to sit as chairs on our various work groups, and the work groups are open for community participation and engagement. So if anyone is interested in getting involved in any of those aspects, there should be an email coming out soon that's going to allow you to sign up for various work groups that are open. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. All right, well, here's Jeremy, back to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Michael. That was really great. Really in-depth overview of the different work groups, which is perfect. So, now would be a great time if you have any questions about the reorganization. This is the purpose of our seafood committee meeting today is to go over this restructure and to answer any questions for those of you that have any, or if we have any AFTO or other executive committee members here that want to say anything about this.
Jeremy, this is Claudia Coles calling. Hey, I'm on the executive committee too, and I just thank my and I think the more that we can help to get the word out to people and about how to reach us and how to contact, and more importantly, as Michael said, how to get that community engagement is something that we are really striving to do. So whatever I can do to help, I'm more than happy to do that, or help questions even offline. Perfect.
Thank you, Claudia. I see Daphne is on here. Daphne, is it the HACCP email for people to email if they want information, which would be the hasip@afdo.org?
Yeah, absolutely. I can drop it in
Okay.
chat.
Perfect, thank you. So yeah, so if you want more information as well, you know, if there's a particular committee you're interested in or just want more information in general, Daphne will put an email in chat that you can reach out to that will come to us, and we'll get back to you on that. So if nobody has any questions, and that is our content for today. So I don't want to, it was really fast. I would like, you know, we still have plenty of time if you do have anything you want to discuss or have questions about regarding this.
So Jeremy, this is Claudia again. So I guess one of the things I just want to bring up then is, you know, have a seafood committee later on, but if there still are seafood issues, and again, you know, you can still reach out to AFDO as an AFDO member or any of the region, and then help filter and get some of those issues to the Seafood HACCP Alliance so that we can work through those issues in a community. And again, but still, AFDO plays a very, very fundamental role, as all of you do, being industry and regulatory members out there to help seafood community. So I just want to be sure I reiterate that to everyone. So help work with us.
Yeah, thank you, Claudia. I think the other big piece of news was there is a virtual basic HACCP class option out there as well. So, you know, you can go out to the AFDO website, our Seafood HACCP Alliance website, and check that out. And what that entails, there are a few specific requirements, such as having taught 2 in-person basic classes or having an assistant trainer. And there are a few other caveats that go along with it. So if a virtual basic HACCP class is something that interests you, that is an option that's out there now. And then the other big piece, like Michael touched on earlier, was submitting your classes online now rather than how it's been done in the past. So that process has changed as well. And there's been a few emails from AFDO about that as well. Anybody else have anything they want to add? All right, well, I see Daphne put the HACCP@afdo.org email in the chat. If you have any questions or need any more information, that's there for you. Otherwise, that's our seafood committee for 2023. It was, I really appreciate everybody's work again. And I hope to see you over on the executive committee work groups.